Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. My name as always is Jamie Hughes and today I'm going to be giving you my review of Avengers Infinity War. Now if you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And today this video is going to be my spoiler review. So I'm going to be talking about a load of spoilers in this video. If you guys want to check out my spoiler free review, if you haven't seen the movie yet then click the link above my head now. But this is a big warning that we are going to be talking about a lot of spoilers in this review, so you guys have now been warned. So I mentioned a lot of positive things in my spoiler-free review, and because I felt like I could talk about the positives without giving too much away. So just a little warning, this is probably going to be not a negative video, but this is probably going to be mainly where I talk about the things that I had issue with in this movie, because you know I can talk about them in a spoiler kind of enclosed area now. But I do have some things I wanted to point out that I did enjoy that I didn't mention in my spoiler free review, and that is that I really like the whole layout of this story. I really like that we kind of had collections of characters and they all had their own individual stories going on throughout this movie, and they were all interlaced, and you knew that they were all on a collision course to Wakanda at the end of this movie. And I just thought that was a really kind of fun plot device, having everybody separate but everybody still having their own important storyline leading to the final battle. I thought that was very, very well executed and very well done, because as I mentioned in my spoiler free review as well, is that I thought the pacing was impeccable in this movie, and I think splitting up those stories is what really worked. You know, flittering from the space station and Titan with Peter and Iron Man, and then you've got Thor that's on the star planet trying to get the star to build the axe, and then you've got Captain America, Vision and all that lot on Earth. I thought jumping between those stories really kept it very engaging, and I thought it worked really well. So I mentioned Thor and Thanos in my spoiler free review, but another character I wanted to point out was one of my favourites in this movie, and again it was another great performance from Zoe Saldana as Gamora, and she was one of my favourite characters in Infinity War because she has such an integral part to this story, and she played a really important part in the progression of this story, because she takes it to, I want to say Van Meer, I'm probably totally mispronouncing that, but this was such an important moment in this movie, and probably one of my favourite scenes, and that is where Thanos kills Gamora to get possession of the Soul Stone. And I just thought that whole scene was so well executed, because not only, again, was it like just so heartbreaking to see a Gamora die, because it was the one thing she didn't want. She wanted, obviously, to die before Thanos got to her. But it was also a very important scene for character progression with Thanos, because yes, Thanos is like a despicable, evil person, and we already hate him for what he's done in other films, and also at the beginning of this film where he takes out that Asgardian refugee ship and he kills Loki in like one foul swoop. But then you have that, and he's just been this badass throughout, and then you have these scenes with Gamora where they try to humanize him, and I thought that that was so well executed and so important. We got the flashback with Gamora as a child first, and then we got the scene where Thanos is crying, and there's a great line from the Red Skull, who by the way is back. What the cheese, like he's the last time we saw him was in the first Avenger, and then he just rocks up in Infinity War. It just blew my mind. He's one of my favourite villains, is the Red Skull, so I'd be really intrigued to see where his story goes from here, because he's back, and yeah, it was just a very small cameo, but it was very cool. But yeah, so he kind of says the tears aren't for him, because he's realised that he's going to kill Gamora, and it was just such an integral and important scene in this movie. And I say trying to humanise Thanos probably made me hate him more, and I thought that that was just so important. I just wanted to point out in this review, like, yeah, what an evil little purple barstool Thanos is. So those are the things I enjoyed in this movie that are kind of spoilerish. Now, as I said, I did mention a whole lot more about what I enjoyed in this movie in my spoiler-free review. So again, another shameless plug for you now to go and check that out. There'll be a link in the description and probably a thing above my head once again to go and check those out. Now I'm going to move on to the things that I didn't really enjoy about Infinity War, and once again, another spoiler warning here, because we're going to go deep down into the rabbit hole now. And this next point kind of blends between a positive and a negative, and that is that I really enjoyed Doctor Strange in this movie. Well, for 3/4 of this movie, I really enjoyed Doctor Strange. He became a really integral character in this film, which I didn't expect, and it was a nice surprise. Again, it was another great performance from Benedict Cumberbatch, but I do take issue with the fact that he gave up the Time Stone to save Tony Stark and save Spider-Man, essentially, because it was just a really weird character choice. Now, I do have a theory on this, which I may or may not go into in a sec, but anyway, it was just really weird because Doctor Strange is very characteristically a very selfish character. Characteristically a selfish character? Does that even make sense? I don't know. But he's very, he's a very selfish character. We saw that in his origin movie, and we kind of see it in the early parts of this movie as well. And there is a line very early on in this film where he says, if it's between saving you two or it's between protecting the Time Stone, I'm gonna protect the Time Stone. And then all of a sudden, he changes his mind, and he then gives up the Time Stone to save Tony Stark. And it just seemed like a very odd character choice, and it seemed like a really odd juxtaposition between the characters, because there wasn't really a moment where those two characters specifically connected and it was like, oh, I understand why he's doing this. It just felt very odd. But then on the flip side to that, there is a line a little bit earlier on from this where he says that he's seen like 14 million scenarios and there is only one scenario where he sees the Avengers winning. Now, does that tie into why he's give the Time Stone away? Because in that scenario, he's give the Time Stone away? Does that make sense? Like, yeah, maybe that's why he did it. And if that does come to fruition in Avengers 4, then like this whole point is very muted and doesn't really carry any weight. But for what I was seeing in this movie, it didn't really make sense. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is obviously the harrowing moment where Thor pops old Thanos with his axe. Thanos says you should have gone for the head. Thanos clicks his fingers. Which hand is it? It's the left one. Thanos clicks his fingers and half of the Avengers die. Did not see that coming. It was crazy. It was a real shocking moment. Like really shocking. But did it carry a devastating weight for me? I'm not sure. I'm really, again, the jury's out on this one. I'm not sure. It was a shock. Don't get me wrong, it was a shock and it took me back. But I don't think it carried as much weight as it could have. And what I mean by that is that they all just disappeared. They all just kind of faded away, which again was shocking and upsetting. But did it carry that impact? I'm not really sure. There were a couple that did. Obviously, Rocket clinging to Groot as he fades away was sad, and I think this is where my issue with that is that had an impact. And then for me, the biggest impact, and it was really well done, is obviously when Peter Parker is taken, when he dies and he's holding on to Tony. He's like, Mr. Stark, I don't want to die. That was the one that got me. But that was the only one where we got any kind of dialogue from a character and any interaction from a character as they were dying. And it was the only one that carried any real weight for me. And it was just really sad, and that one worked. But for the rest of the characters, they just kind of faded away. I know that Bucky had a great line where he just said Steve and faded away. That was impactful. But then, like Falcon, Vision. I'm sorry, Vision was already dead. One of you guys, like, head destroyed. But there was loads. I mean, half the Avengers are dead, but a lot of them didn't get that moment. They just kind of faded away into nothingness. And I think that was such a missed opportunity. And one of the things that I think I would have done differently in that scenario is, I don't know, maybe not have killed off as many, because having all of those people die was a shock. But it would have been more impactful to have less. I think it's that old adage of less is more. Like, maybe just have Peter, Steve, and then Black Panther die or disappear, whatever they did, because it lacked a little bit of impact for me, because there was too much going on. There was too much to process. Whereas if we'd have only had 2 or 3 characters die, it would have been a lot more impactful. And again, that's not a negative thing. I just think it was just too much to process at once. For me personally, I would have liked a little bit less. And again, I have a theory on this, that maybe they're not all dead and they've been kind of transferred somewhere, because it does seem very weird to kill off half the Avengers in one foul swoop in one film. But we will have to wait and see, and I'll go into that in a little bit more depth probably in another video later on this week. So that is my spoiler review of Avengers Infinity War. There's probably loads that I've missed out, or that slipped my mind while I've been waffling on. But if there's anything you guys want to talk about, then, you know, leave a comment down below and we can discuss kind of my theories and whatnot in the comments down below. It's been really great to see you guys interacting on the Infinity War spoiler-free review. So yeah, we can probably have a little bit more of a spoilery discussion down in the comments below now, because let's say this is a spoiler video, and if people are looking for this, then it's on them, not you guys. So yeah, it'd be really interesting your thoughts and hear what you think about my theories and my kind of grievances with this movie, and I'd love to hear yours, as I said, down in the comments below. And if you guys did enjoy this video and you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the very next episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. Ta-ra!